Wild with Resource Investing News, and here today with me at the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference is David Morgan, publisher of the Morgan Report. Thank you for joining me today.
Sure, thank you.
Great. So when we spoke this time last year, you said you saw silver going higher. After last year's not so great performance, are you still optimistic about 2015?
I'm optimistic about 2015. Not to make excuses, but the long-term analysis on silver was after the peak in April 2011. I called that top, so I got that part right. I did suggest hedges for people that have big positions. And I figured there would be like a 3-year downtrend, because usually when you get a move from 19 to 48 in any commodity, especially the silver market, it takes time to congest, to make up for that large move. And I really thought it'd be about 3 years, and I was wrong. It took at least 4. But I think that we've hit the bottom. I think the intraday low in November at 14.15 will be it, and I think that 2015 will be a better year, but not an extremely good year for both the metals, gold and silver.
Okay, and what catalysts do you see driving price action?
A couple major ones. One, the currency crisis that's ongoing with what's going on with the Russian ruble and the oil price. The second one being the Swiss National Bank, that's basically in the midst of the currency crisis on kind of the opposite side than Russia, meaning that their currency is very, very strong all of a sudden, and they're putting out negative interest rates for people to be parked into the Swiss franc. And this is just part of the overall scenario. The second one on silver is the industrial demand. There was a study done by the Silver Institute that portends that the increase in demand is going to be something like 30% or greater over the next 3 years. So you have on silver both the luxuries of, a monetary currency demand and an industrial demand, and both are favorable.
Okay, so from what I understand, silver went into deficit last year and will continue there this year. How come we haven't seen a more of an impact on price right away?
Right. Well, there's 2 main studies in silver, the CPM group and the Silver Institute. The Silver Institute claimed that there was a deficit, and the CPM's claiming differently. Let's take it that it's neutral. There's no deficit and there's no surplus. So the reason being is there hasn't been much investment demand outside of retail. The coin sales in Philharmonics, Silver Eagles, and Silver Maples is very, very high and continuing on that trend. But there hasn't been a big push into silver commercial bars for investment in several years. And that, I think, is the catalyst that we need. So until we get that kind of, even with the increased industrial demand, which will put some pressure to the upside, we need to see somebody come into the market in a big way with silver demand in the physical realm, and that will be the catalyst, I think, to move it even higher.
Okay, all right, and miners do seem to be producing record amounts of silver, so most of that is going to physical demand.
Right. Yeah, the miners are in a precarious situation because at these prices, the primary silver producers, for the most part, are mining at a loss. And the way that you get around that is you mine high grade. So you get your best part of the mine, and you get as much cash flow as you can to sustain the loss as little, to make the loss as small as possible and sustain the company. And so that's why you're seeing, more record amounts, is that not that they really want to produce more silver, they need to get as much cash flow as they possibly can. And when the price is down, it means they need higher grades. Now, not all mines can do that, but that's the general idea. So people say, well, why are they mining so much? And the answer is very simple: to stay in business.
Right. Okay, so on a different note, already today I'm seeing people talking about manipulation, which is always a big underlying concern. What do you tell people who are concerned about getting into silver because of that?
It's a tough one. It's hard to do an interview like this, but basically all markets are manipulated. I mean, basically the biggest manipulation is interest rates. The price of money is a manipulation. I mean, anyone that's my age or so knows how much interest rates affect everything, especially at my age, what happened in the housing market when Paul Volcker took over the head of the Fed, and interest rates went to like 17, 18, 19%. And the housing market got crushed because it's an area where you have to borrow money to buy a house in most cases. So since the money supply is at the dictate of the political system, and the interest rates in the same basis, you have a situation where that stems everything else. The cost of money affects everything. So of course it affects all the markets. So cheap money is very beneficial to the stock market, for example, but then you go to the subset of how the metals are controlled or not controlled, or paper sales and all that affects the market, and it's a true statement. So they're reluctant. I would say take a big picture and know why you own the metals fundamentally. Don't worry too much about the manipulation. Certainly it can affect the price. Certainly it has a cause and effect relationship. But all manipulated markets end in failure. And this one will as well. So you take a long-term breath and say, why am I buying these metals? What's the long-term situation, meaning the currency crisis I outlined at the beginning of the interview? There is a reason that people should own precious metals. Doesn't mean to overload. It means to think about it, diversify, have a position. Usually 10% is good for most people, 20% if you're really bullish on this market, and leave it at that and get along with your life. You don't have to like dwell in the silver and gold world like I do. That's my world, but you know, most people just want to take a position and hold on to it.
Right. Okay, so just to end, I just found out that you have written a book. Would you like to talk a little bit about it?
It's a joint effort, myself and Chris Marchese and lots of people really, but those are the primary authors. And it's called the Silver Manifesto, and it covers the gamut on not only precious metals, focusing on silver, but the economic background, and we look at mining companies, how to determine if a mining company is worth buying or not.
Right.
We go through the economic picture and what's wrong with the economies that stands, what the true money supply is, the convenience yield. I mean, this is the Bible that I've always wanted to write, so it's not perfect. I'm a perfectionist. I'll never get it perfect, but it's close enough, so we're going to be publishing this month, January 2015.
Very exciting. Okay, so once again, this is David Morgan, and I'm Charlotte McLeod from Resource Investing News.